Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar organized on the World Environment Day. Let us seek God's blessings. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful day. We thank you during this pandemic. We are happy that we are here to see another wonderful day, another World Environment Day. And we ask you to bless all those who are behind the organization of program. We ask you to shower your blessings on the resource person, our alumni Sachin, on all the organizers who have worked hard behind this seminar. I ask you to bless each one of the participants, and may this webinar be a source of wisdom and light to each one of us in the Lord's name. Yes, Parmesh. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your lovely wishes. Now I request Dr. Jayarama Reddy, Head Department of Botany, St. Joseph's College Autonomous, for welcome address as well as introduce the resource person of the day. So please welcome, sir.
Good morning, everybody. At the outset, I wish you all a very happy Environment Day. Even though Environment Day, but the whole world is reeling under the mega pandemic. Even though the pandemic is around, but still we have to celebrate this Environment Day because Environment Day is very important for us. Now, I warmly welcome each and every one of you to this webinar. First of all, I welcome Sachin Bhaskar, my student and the alumnus of St. Joseph's College, who studied in St. Joseph's College, completed MSc in St. Joseph's College, MSc Botany in St. Joseph's College. I also welcome all the participants, all delegates of this webinar to this webinar. And I also welcome the members of the Department of Botany, St. Joseph's College. Especially also welcome the organizer, Dr. Paramesh, who has taken interest in organizing this, and he has been doing it from last year. On every Environment Day, he will also been conducted a webinar. So I welcome once again each and every one of you to this webinar. Now I would like to introduce my student Sachin Bhaskar to all of you. Sachin was a very student, as I remember him, right, for MSc Botany. At the end of the year or after some years, only a few of them are remembered by us. And that Sachin won, we remember MSc Botany degree from St. Joseph's College, and he with the first rank. Later, he completed KCET exam, GATE exam, and in GATE exam, he obtained 139th rank at national level. And after his MSc, he completed 4 minor projects with IISc, Bangalore, FRLHT, University of Agricultural Sciences, Bangalore, Sacred Heart College, Kochi, and he has published papers also. He has participated in seminars and conferences. At present, he is seeking admission into PhD. He has applied, he is trying to get the PhD admission in different universities. I hope he will get in some good institution because he has that interest of doing research. I remember in my class, whenever I used to tell something, he used to question me. Like, for example, whenever I mention about technology, I remember one incident very clearly when I was teaching about bioluminescence, and I was telling about the technologies that we can use. We can convert all the avenue trees into light producing trees by using bioluminescence instance, have income of immediately question me if you be totally disturbed. I am totally against it, sir. I will not agree with you. He very clearly told me. So that kind of keen interest and that kind of a strong conviction he has, and that is what is required in a science. So I welcome him once again. And it is over to Sachin now. So I invite Sachin Bhaskar to take over and give a talk this topic of terrarium is very important to Sachin Bhaskar about the over to Sachin Bhaskar.
Thank you very much. It was indeed Jacob also for your prayers. And I wish all the, yeah, so that's it. Parmesa, can I start with the presentation?
Yes, Sachin. Yes, Sachin. You go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so then I'll start sharing my screen and then
Yeah.
I will maybe, okay, thank you. Okay, everybody. Um, so this talk, I'm going to this talk into three major time slots. The first 20 minutes would be about your basic introduction to terrariums. I presume many of them in the audience side, the participant side would not know what it is. Say the same about terrarium. And the next 20 minutes would be about a live demonstration where I'll be showing how to terrarium, a small little demonstration, and following would be the question answers session, which would be very participatory. So the first type or the first time slot for the terrarium webinar was the lecture that I was supposed to give. So I'll start with the same. It's not a very long time consuming lecture. I've just added you have with respect to terrariums. So here we go. So what exactly is a terrarium? Now, terrarium is a very beautiful, cute looking indoor gardening equipment, which usually contains a myriad of plant collections supported by their substratum. All of this is sealed in a glass container, preferably to give that aesthetic, nice look. Also be in clay pots or ceramic cups or whatever you could lay your hands on. And so that is terrarium. Terrarium also can be a very good gift to people who are plant enthusiasts who caption themselves as nature blind. It could be a wonderful gift for anybody who wants to learn about nature or who already loves plants and nature. So that is a terrarium. And when we are talking about terrarium, there is a lot of names that pops up which have similar meanings, yes, but in the recent times it is used it is interchanged very now and then, so I feel it's not right. And since this terrarium and everything, I thought it would be nice to get the difference right. And I wanted the participants to be crisp and clear with respect to what different terminologies define themselves as. Now that you know what a terrarium is, and penguinariums, aquariums, there are many other names with suffix IUM, which are used interchangeably, as I told you. So a vivarium is a terrarium setup which has an animal species inside it. So it serves as a very good zoo if you are to be a person who Trivandrum Zoo or the Wanderlust Zoo in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, and all of that, you will see a particular zoo enclosure which says the reptile house or the snake house. In those snake houses, you will find these cute looking coiled creatures which are enclosed in a glass container with a lot of plants around it. So that constitutes to a snake terrarium, or sorry, a snake vivarium. So a vivarium is nothing but a terrarium plus an animal inside it. It's like a basic formula that you can remember, so that it's somewhere there in your brain. Okay, a vivarium is a terrarium plus animal species. Animal species can be anything ranging from insects to any frogs or any snakes, or sometimes it could also be tiny little mammals, but the enclosure there is quite huge and big. Okay, so terrarium is not always. Yes, sir.
A little bit louder, so some people can't hear. Their, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Terrarium is again a terrarium plus a water ecosystem inside it. So what I mean by a water ecosystem could be a tiny little glass inside it, and this could be present in a terrarium. So this constitutes to what is called a paludarium. So a paludarium is nothing but a terrarium plus a water ecosystem inside it. Okay. What is a vivarium? A vivarium is a terrarium plus an animal species, and a paludarium is a terrarium plus a water ecosystem. Okay. Now, a paludarium, when it is completely removed of its terrestrial ecosystem and it is just filled with water life forms, then it becomes an aquarium. An aquarium is a very layman's term. I presume everybody would know this. So these are the four major differences, and these are the defining meanings which sets all these four different words into the category that they actually have to follow. Please don't interchange them. And I presume you know the stark differences between all of them. Okay, fine. So the next slide is what, okay, now that we know what do we actually need to make one. The first thing is you have to contain this whole ecosystem. So you need a container. As I told you, be a glass container, it could be a ceramic or a pot container. If you are a person who is very keen about the side look of your terrarium as well as the aerial view of your terrarium, then you should more likely opt for the glass terrarium or the glass container. Or if you are a person who does not give much importance to the side view of the terrarium but is just interested in the aerial view of the terrarium, then you can go for any ceramic or pot where the side view is completely merged. So that is uh, five things that are slashed between the parentheses in the slide following substratum. You have to have a minimum of four. The reason and the role that every during my live demonstration, but you definitely have to have at least four of the five items mentioned here. And plants in the next slide I will show, and I will talk about what plants ought to be used and what shouldn't be used. And the fourth one coffee estates, or it could be a insect mold, it could be a dragonfly mold, or it could be a tiny little snake mold that is very memorable to you. Or it could be an acorn, or it could be a fallen casuarina cone, or it could be any pine needles that you've got in any of the pine forests in Kodaikanal or whatever. Anything that could add an aesthetic view for your terrarium to you and your terrarium. Okay, it is something that you would like to see in the terrarium and it lifts up your mood. Okay, so that constitutes aesthetics. And the fifth one is tools. These are basic tools I think every biology student could have. Given that you have a dissection box, you will definitely find all of them in all of the tools with you. Tweezers, needles, spatulas, scalpels, and paintbrushes. I'm pretty sure everybody would have this. and cover in thread. If your main motive is to have a closed terrarium setup, then you should ideally a container that can be that can be used as a cover for your terrarium. But if you are a person who likes to have an open terrarium, then you should not be then you shouldn't worry about the sixth point, which is the cover and thread. And the seventh one is the spray bottle. Now, spray bottle is especially used to dampen your terrariums. It's like a water source, and it is advisable that you have a very fine nozzle spray bottle so that your terrarium doesn't become inundated completely. You can, if you don't have a spray bottle, considering the situation that we are in now, at least in Bangalore, void of any ink particles. You can use that for the time being if you wish to. Choosing a plant for the terrarium is just two. It should be a fun size plant. Now, what I mean by fun size is anything that is small and cute looking, something that is a wee bit, and that's fun size. It should be small. And the second golden rule is it should have a very small root, or if the roots are very huge, then you can prune it, but it should have small roots. Mosses, algae. So use any bryophyte with the thalloid bodies. Okay, so these are the plants that can be used. And these are the major succulents that are used generally in terrarium making. It could be any species of sedum, be species of echeveria, or it could also be species of sempervirem. Sempervivum. And all of these are leaf propagated predominantly, which means that you don't have to stuff the whole medium. You can just use the leaf blades. But prior using to the leaf blades, it's advisable that you place these leaf blades on a rooting medium and spray a little bit of water. So from the PTO, you'll have tiny little plants growing up with roots. So you can use those tiny little plants than the leaf blade itself to give a nice looking environment for your terrarium. So these are the general very small little population of all the plants you could use for terrarium. These I've just covered the succulents part. For the plant pictures, mosses and all of that, I was not very fortunate to go to Lalbagh because or to the Western Ghats, because I usually collect my mosses from either of these two places. But considering the down here in Bangalore. So I've just focused on the succulents here. Why should you consider doing one? Is because it definitely considering that all of us do have a work table. We definitely see ourselves, working on a table. Of course, we sit on the chair, but we definitely need a table to, have our to call as a workspace. So if you were to keep this terrarium on your workplace, it will definitely lighten up your mood. At least it would do that to me. And the very view of a terrarium and the very handling of a terrarium with your arms and looking into the plants could give you a sense of relaxation, because we are mimicking an artificial ecosystem here. So that's one way to go. And the third one is, the more terrariums you keep in your workspace, or in the area in your room or whatever, the more fresher your air gets to breathe. And that's one thing. And you could consider this as a great hobby. You don't have to be a plant specialist for this. All you need to have is you should have a good architectural skill, and you should know which plant to use and which not to. And you should have a keen sense of lighting and water support to your plant. If you have these four, I think you can master the art of terrarium making. And it is a very good gift for your friends. If you were to be a person who is very good in making this, of course, when you start practicing and you become very friends who are in a very hectic work, the terrariums that I have made. And we had a fest last year in the year 2019, before we had this pandemic. At least before India was locked down for the pandemic, we had a fest, and we had these tiny little terrariums put up. All of this were done by me, except for the the top row, which was done by two of my classmates, Sahana and Liana. If they were to be the participants, they should be proud of that. The one that is surrounded by the pebble was made by Liana and Sahana. The other five were made by me. And yeah, so you can do your terrariums, and it definitely adds a look. And yeah, so terrariums also are very commercial nowadays, and they have a lot of market value. The left terrarium that you can see, which is sealed in a glass pot, is glass bowl rather, is an insectivorous terrarium. You can see tiny little plants of Drosera there. You can see those insectivorous sundew spikings on the corners of the leaf body. So that is one. Insect terrariums have a very high value, and they can go up to 500 they have cocked the ends of the terrarium. So these are closed terrariums. Now, closed terrariums don't have to be watered regularly. Just have to them the way they are. So they will create they will create a water cycle. Whatever water that you have put at the beginning, the start of the terrarium, be then the humidity and the warmth given by soil and the plant body would further evaporate these, and they'll condense onto permanent water cycle setting. So this is what closed terrariums would do. But one drawback about closed terrariums is if you're using succulents or if you're using any angiospermic plants, if with a very huge leaf area, there could be a possible fungal infect growth, which may further, be very deleterious to the plant life and the soil life. So you should be careful in choosing the plants before you would want to do a closed terrarium. The the one towards your right is an open terrarium. Open terrariums usually need regular water supply, but there is a very minimal amount of mold infection and so everything has its own disadvantages and advantages. You ought to choose what you want to, and the plants, substratum, and everything. So, sir, now can I go for the live demonstration? I'll stop sharing my screen so that. Sir?
Yeah, Sachin, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, all right, sir. Okay. I'll just, okay, for now, I'll just show you what are the seven to before starting off with making a terrarium. So this is one terrarium that I made yesterday. This is in a earthen pot that I told you. See, you can, if as you can see, you can't see this stratification of the soil or this stone or anything of that sort, but definitely you can find a cute looking aerial view of the terrarium. Sir, is it visible?
Yeah, it's visible, Sachin. It's visible.
Yes. Pot that I did. This is one, and this is a glass terrarium. It's advisable that you don't hold your terrarium, in the sides.
Sorry
like
to
the,
interrupt, Sachin. Can you please tell me what are the names of the plants in that clay pot?
so the plants here are the green mat that you can see. It is just the sphagnum moss. It is a moss. It's a moss. This one, and the one that is here, the broad-leafed one, is Christ's thorn, which is Euphorbia milli, is the botanical name. So I've just used and uh, and then these tiny little cement stones and jelly stones to
Thank
just add up
you.
to the aesthetic value. Yeah, so this is one. And terrarium that I was talking about. And it's advisable, as I mentioned before, that you don't touch the sides of the terrarium with the lid. And here you can see stratification. You can see the lower stones, and then you can see the mud area, the cocoa peat, as well as the plant body here. So is it visible?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's visible. Okay. And you can, I've used the same plant body here, but I've just used a extra moss whose name I'm not able to decipher because it randomly sprouted out from my pot up in the terrace. And towards the topmost corner, the green mat, it is the moss again. Ships is something that I'm not. It's actually very good looking moss, but this camera is not very good. It is actually giving a dried out feeling, but in reality, it's a very cute looking moss. It's all bushy and bunched up. And those red stones definitely add a beautiful coloration to your terrariums. So this is a glass terrarium, as I told you. And so for people, so I made this a week ago. It's still good and thriving. For people who think terrarium is just good for the first 2 days and then later it just doesn't happen, then it is your carelessness that should be blamed. And the plants will do very well if they've given a if they're watered and their conditions are taken care of. This was a terrarium that I made in the February month of 2019 during the fest times, and it's still good. And if you could see, you can see a lot of algal growth here, and you can see the stone, the bottom stone layer, and you can see water bubbles. So that is exactly what
Water
the
cycle.
lower part of the terrarium does. So any extra water, if I'm not patient enough, if I was not patient enough that day and poured a mug full of water, it gets collected, literally a mug full, goes and accumulates in the lower bottom, and then slowly it will be sucked on by the sphagnum moss and the manure layer. And then this is a cactus, and it is taken almost a year for it to show a tiny little pinching
Yeah.
of bud. So that is how slow they grow. And I'll tell you what exactly I did to almost 2 years now, if I'm not wrong. No, I'm not wrong. No, it was February 2020. I'm sorry, it is not 2019. It was February 2020. So it's almost 1 month, 1 year, 5 months now. 4 months. Almost do a good job if you've given good care of it. And you can see the when I added the soil, it was up to brim of the glass rim here, but now it's all gone down because of the compact packing of soils and compost. So that is how well they can thrive if given a chance to and taken care of. And these algal growths that are here, they'll add on to extra oxygen and a beautiful water mat kind of thing. So yeah, this is one way to go. And I did a very cheap looking bottle terrarium. So you can see bottles inside bottles here. Maybe I will open. So this is a closed terrariums. You can see the walls of the glass are not very visible because of the condensation that has taken place. And I'll remove each bottle from inside so that you get what I'm exactly talking. So this is one bottle which is inside. So this is the bigger bottle, and this is the medium sized bottle. And inside this, there is a tiny little bottle. So all of them have soil, stone, and moss material. Same goes here. Soil, moss, and stones. So if you can see how watery the base is. I'll move this, but you can see the water movement at the base. So that is exactly what stone will do if you base the terrarium inside. It's
What
the
are the
same one.
plants
It's
you
the
have
same.
there,
It's just the
Sachin?
moss. I've not added any angiosperms here because I'm closing the terrarium, right?
Okay.
If I were to add
Mm.
any broad-leafed angiosperms, they'll have
Okay.
fungal growth. Moss actually have very minute leaves, so they thrive well.
Mm.
So this is the bottle terrarium, and side. And so those were the terrariums that I wanted to show in my collection. And the first important thing that you would need are stones. So these are stones that I've kept here. And the second thing that you would need is sand. Sand can either be brown colored beach sand, or it can be cement sand, as in this case, because I didn't get any beach sand here, no construction going on around my house. So I had to pick these cement sand. So this is the second component, the first being the stone, second being sand. And the third one is the regular soil. Now this is regular soil, yes, but it is 1:1 of soil and manure. So this is a soil mixture which has 1:1 ratio of garden soil as well as manure. Manure can be anything. It could be vermicompost, or it could be vegetable garden waste, or anything. And the fourth one is, this is advisable but not a mandate. This is the cocoa peat. If you don't have cocoa peat, you can also use dried spider. If you don't have cocoa peat, you can also use dried spider. Actually, it is all the five things. I was talking to you about the, oh, and this one. So this is the gravel. This is the gravel. You can see tiny little stones here. These are the tiny little stones. And this is these are cobbles, all right? And this is the garden soil and the manure mixture. And this is the cocoa peat. So we have all the five things here. This is our substrate. Okay. And the next plants, definitely. So I have moss here again. These are mosses. So is it visible, sir?
Yes, Sachin.
Okay, okay,
Yes,
fine. All
very
right,
much.
sir. Okay. So this is the moss, and I have a petri plate of moss, and I have a petri plate of. If you see the dangling leaves towards the corner, towards the left corner, that is a species of bryophyllum. And so what I did for this bryophyllum is I took a huge leaf of this bryophyllum and I placed it on the rooting surface 1 week before. That is on the 30th or the 31st of no. So I placed it 1 week ago. All right. So then later what happened, from the petiole of the bryophyllum, that is the leaf stalk of the bryophyllum, tiny little plant appeared, and in a week's time it became such a big plant. So I'm using this for my terrarium today. And this is the Euphorbia milli. So I'll just take a tiny little plant so that you can see, know exactly. If you were to look at the thorns, so this is one. So I've used the red variety of Euphorbia milli, and I've also used the yellow variety. And these are so these are the
Sorry
yes.
to interrupt, Sachin. If you can give us the common
Yeah,
names,
it's called the
because I'm not a
Christ
botanist.
thorn. You just
Okay,
Google
okay.
Christ thorn. It's called Christ thorn because of the stem, and it is believed that Jesus Christ had his crown of thorns from this plant. It's called Christ thorn.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And this is a cotton thread. This is the black one, is a cotton thread. And you just clean off the terrarium glass after you're done with your terrarium work. And this is a piece of chalk to pull out the excess moisture. Okay. And I remember I was talking to you about the aesthetics. So these are my box of aesthetics. um, I have a lot of things here, if you're able to see. I have some cute looking colored pebbles. I have a snail shell. The snail actually is endemic to the peninsular India. Uh, this is a bi-striped snail. I have a snail shell, and then I have this casuarina pod cones, and then I have this one. I remember taking this rudraksha when I was roaming some forest near Kerala early this year. So this is one Rudraksha orchid that was growing in the coffee estates of the west of Coorg. So this is one, and this is a wood chip. So this is a wood chip. This, I don't know. I think this is the white dama tree again in the Western Ghats. So it's good that you, if you collect a box like this and place and go into a walk in forest, and anything that picks your mind, and you can just put it inside this, as long as it is not a scheduled species. Okay. So these are my box of aesthetics. And you would need an alcohol bottle to clean alcohol bottle. I'm pretty sure you will have a hand sanitizer. You can use that as well. And I'm stressing this again. You're just using that on the outer side of the terrarium, never inside, because it is indirect. You are doing more harm to the plant than good. So never use it on the inside. It is just on the outside of the terrarium box. And you'll need a tiny little container of water. And yes, and you will need a tiny little water spray, so that the water comes out in a fine nozzle. And you would need some cute little looking organisms, as like snails in this case, if you were to convert your terrarium into a vivarium. I'm not going to do any of that, but I found this cute looking snail below in my pot. So considering the monsoon, he's a best visitor. Okay, now without any delay, I'll show how to make a terrarium. So I'm using a glass jar today. And as I mentioned, I'm using a spoon to take off the gravel from below. So I'm going inside the terrarium box, sorry, terrarium container. Gravel below. Is this clear?
Yes.
No, I'm not going to tilt the terrarium because all the stones are going to go to the other side. So I'm just going to place like this so that you get a clear look. Okay. So you can, again, if you would want to, increase this now. So you can add a bit of stones inside this. And then gentle pebbles come to the side. Okay, so I'm done with the gravel. Now I'm going to add a little bit of soil to increase the area of terrarium. Be very careful, and you should know, once you have started to add the soil, you are not going to juggle up your terrarium, because you are mixing the soil and the stone, which is not at all a good idea. So you will slowly place the soil on all the sides of the terrarium. It is time consuming, but it is a wonderful hobby. So there goes the soil. You just add a tiny little soil layer, uh, just the level of the stone layer that you added, and then you can add a little bit of cocoa peat. Now, what cocoa peat does is basically it takes the excess moisture, and it gives your terrarium a damp look. If you don't have a cocoa peat, you can always use a sphagnum moss. And lastly, that is the fourth layer. So the first layer was stone, and the second layer was soil, and the third tiny little layer, that is half of the soil and the stone mixture, would be your cocoa peat or your sphagnum moss. And the fourth layer is your sand.
Sakshi, sorry to interrupt. Could you please speak a
Yes, ma'am.
little closer into the mic? There are a lot of comments coming that they're not able to hear you clearly.
Okay, all right, ma'am. So is it now clear? Because I've kept
Yes,
it near them.
yes, it's
Yeah,
better.
better.
All right, okay. So I'm just going to place all the sand to the sides. I'm using, you can also use beach sand, and carefully dab it on all the sides. So what exactly happens when you put sand is, okay, I'll tell that once I add. Confused. Okay, now that we have done adding the sand, you can very carefully hit on the rim of it so that they all get balanced up. Again, I'm cautioning you not to juggle your terrarium, because if you were to do that, then it will not be a layer, it will become a cocktail of all the four substrates that you have added. So please don't do it. Be mindful when you're doing terrarium, be mindful in anything that you're doing, but it same goes when making a terrarium. And the fifth layer would be your soil mixture again. So now you had a thick layer of to support your plant life. I'm adding a thick layer of soil mixture, 1:1 soil and manure. Be very you can carefully break them up. You can use an ice cream spoon with a very flat surface. So it somewhat helps you in breaking all the lumps. Not only does it helps in breaking the lumps, it also helps you in surfacing your soil. So it acts like a scalpel. And again, keep an exclusive spoon for terrarium only. So make sure you put this spoon inside your terrarium making kit. You add a thick layer of soil. And then carefully, I'm going to add 3 more spoons and then I'm done. Be careful to pay attention so that you remove any unnecessary stones that are found in this region, because any stones that are here are going to impede your plant's growth. So be careful with that. And then once this is done, I badly want to show you the layers of the terrarium, but I'm pretty sure you can see them, right? Stone, soil, and a traversing juxtaposed sand mixture, and again soil mixture on top. Can you see how layered it is, like a tiramisu cake? That's exactly how it is supposed to be. And I'm going to add a last of cocoa peat again. And you can gently mix the soil and the cocoa peat. Don't thrust it so deeply that the sand mixture comes on top. Be very gentle. Okay, so all these are nothing but compost. So I'm going to you keep aside everything, all the substratum, and now you dampen this. Ideally, don't use a fire. Put water onto the sides of the terrarium, onto the and to the top of the terrarium, so that water just everything just gets. As in all of them were dried, they didn't have any amount of moisture in them. So to rejuvenate them proper, just add like maybe a 10 ml or so, not more than that. Don't flood the terrarium. Yeah, so this is done. So this was a 2 ml dropper. I've done it 5 times, 5 to 6 times. So now let it set, and you can slowly dab it down. And you know, when you're dabbing it, you shouldn't get that soil slushy mixture in your hand. I mean, this is just a tiny soil bit. But if you were to do this and lift your, you see, you don't see any slushy things sticking to your finger. So you have to dampen it to that level. And then now comes the plant part. So I'm going to make a moss terrarium again today. So I'm going to take a thick bed of moss and I'm going to place it at the bottom. You may, if you are very immunocompromised, it's better you use a glove and a mask, because of all the fungal infections that are spreading out now. But I'm fine. if you are very immunocompromised, then maybe you should consider doing that. And I'm going to take another tiny little. Be you have to be a bit so in whatever you're doing, you should be a bit rough so that it just sticks onto the substratum and it is not they basically, so between this moss bed and the substratum there should be no air gap. So that is the major motive behind pressing this moss bed. Once you've pressed the moss bed, all the moss leaves will be sleeping towards your finger force. You know, the force against which you pushed your moss, every thing will be aligned towards your pressure. So you take a um needle and you gently run it against the pressure that you gave. For example, if I dabbed my finger in this direction, that is towards direction, you take the needle and brush it against, that is the backside direction, so that you make the moss plant body erect again, and so that they're not drooping down. So you do that gently, be very gentle, don't scrape them off, very gentle. And same with this. So don't hold onto the sides of the terrarium, just hold the base, be very gentle in doing this. And then, so now I have placed my moss beds. Now I'm going to place a tiny little bryofilm plant. Did you see that? Here? Okay, so I've given this tiny little hole. So I'm going to place this bryofilm. So, okay, so now this bryofilm has a lot of roots in it. If you can see, this bryofilm has a lot of roots into it. So it's better if you tease out few roots so that they don't grow all big and they outgrow the moss. That shouldn't happen. You just gently break. I'm not ripping the root outside the plant body. I'm just pinching it down so that it is hurt, so that it decreases the growth of the plant. You know, it will take more time to reorganize the root, and this will further decrease the time needed for the plants to survive. So I'm going to carefully put this below, and I'm going to dab it with soil, and I'm going to give it a strong foundation. All right, now that that is given, I'm going to place the plant body of Euphorbia to this side. I'm going to place the plant body to this side and give it a gentle push so that it settles deeper into this soil. Place one more if you wish to. I'm going to place two here. Okay, be gentle, please. Be very gentle. Don't show all your yeah. So don't be very don't show your warrior face in the terrarium making. Be very gentle. And yeah, so this is done. So a tiny little terrarium is done. Can you see it?
Sachin, very good.
Okay, all right. So now comes the extra adding bit part. That is, now is where you're going to add all your favorite. And I'm going to open my aesthetic box and give me a minute. You can choose whatever you would wish, whatever you want to.
So before
Sir?
that aesthetic thing, just brief the layers.
All right, sir. Okay. Okay. See this terrarium. You can see 4 layers predominantly. The lowermost layer is the stone gravel layer, wherein you have added all your stones and gravel. And the second brown layer is your soil, manure, and a tiny little layer of coco peat. And the third layer that is juxtaposing between the brown layers is the cement sand layer. And the fourth layer is again your soil, manure, and coco peat layer. And the last one is your terrarium setup. So I'm going to tell what these layers do. The first one, the stone layer, is as I mentioned before, if you were to over water your terrarium, all the water will seep. It will not give rise to any fungal growth or anything because it is too low and the condition too low in the terrarium, and the condition becomes very very hypoxic and no oxygen is present, so that area is somewhat established, it's just water there, so it acts like a watershed, let's say. And the second layer is just a sand layer that is there, and this again helps in holding the moisture, and this layer will have a lot of capillary water which can be used by the plant root. And I would like to talk soil layer that the plant roots get well established and they grow. Once the roots deepen, that is when they touch the sand layer, the aggregating capacity of the sand particles is very different from the soil particles. So the plant roots will completely re-establish itself and it will increase the growth of the plant. As in, the roots will not spread further, so they will be completely contained. So a contained root will give rise to a well-contained, small-looking plant, which is needed for our terrarium. So that is the importance of the sand layer that you add between the soil layers. So if you were not to, if you don't add the soil layer and you forget to add the soil layer, what happens is the plants will know, the plant roots especially will know that they have a very nice soil layer. So they'll spread out their roots in all possible directions and will grow well. Once they grow well, especially in this case, both these angiosperms, if they both these angiosperms, as in both these broad-leafed, big-looking plants, they will grow well and they will impede the growth of mosses and called rhizoids, which mimics the roots definitely. And so these plants will be they will have to undercompete with the other two. So that is the importance of the sand layer. So once the roots of these two flowering plants, the big plants, hit the sand layer, their growth is somewhat contained. This is exactly why my cactus here took almost a year to develop a tiny little bud pinch because it has a very thick sand layer. So I've used a beach sand here, so I'm pretty sure you can see it. So this is the sand layer, this one, between the soil layer, and this is the gravel. So this is how long it takes. Again, the plant is definitely healthy, but to grow your terrarium will be cute and nice looking for a longer time. That's exactly what I mean. And so is it fine?
Fine, fine.
All right. So now I'll just add tiny little gravels here and there to just show how much tiny little things can increase the beauty of terrarium. Okay, so I'm done with the terrarium. Can you see it? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to hold the base of the terrarium and explain each of the components. This is a bryophyllum plant. These two are moss mats, and this is a ruby red stone. And these are the two plants of Euphorbia milli, and this is a wood chip, and this is the snail mold of a endemic central India endemic snail. It's a bistriped snail. So this is exactly what a terrarium would be looking to do is take a spray nozzle and spray very, very gently onto the area of the terrariums, onto the plant area of the terrarium. But again, a caution is that if your aesthetic is not very water sensitive, you can take your aesthetic material outside, place it out, water the plant, and then keep it back. Okay. So that is something that you should pay attention to. So this is done. Now I'm not going to okay. So the next thing, take a tiny little cotton bud, dip it in alcohol, and gently clean the sides of the terrarium. Now, why you would want to clean the sides of the terrarium? Be very gentle. Don't turvy the terrarium. Be very gentle and all the sides, just the sides. If you're paying attention, I'm not even entering terrarium. And you discard this cotton and take a new cotton bunch and wipe off any excess moisture that is sticking on to the rim of the terrarium. Okay. And you can also dab off any excess moisture that is there on the plants to decrease the fungal growth. Okay. So you be very careful. Use two different cotton swabs or cotton bundles. One for alcohol for cleaning the outer surface of the terrarium so that it gives a clean, nice look to the terrarium. This is the alcohol. And this was the water to ward off any unnecessary moisture that is there in the rim. Just pay attention that you take off the water droplets only on the rim of the terrarium. Don't go in and completely take off all the moisture. Another thing, if you think you have moistured your terrarium too much, we are rest assured that the moisture will get collected in the lower gravel area. But if you can see a lot of visible moisture on the terrarium roots, then just take a chalk piece and then just dip it on one side of the soil. If you're going to dip it on one side of the soil, any excess moisture will be taken up by the chalk piece, giving your terrarium a dampy yet good look. All right. So you have two things to remove moisture here. One is cotton, another one is a chalk. I'm not going to make this into so is it visible, the terrarium? It is advised that you fasten it like this, you thrust it against something so that is it visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
So this is a terrarium and this is a layer that goes to a terrarium.
Very beautiful, Sachin.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And one more thing is I'm not going to close the terrarium, but if you wish to close the terrarium, say for example, you have used some other plants and you wish and you say that I'm not going to be here for the next few days in the house. So it's better that I spray the water in the terrarium and close the terrarium off. You can use a jute cloth and a jute thread or a cotton thread, as in this case. Or if you don't have a jute cloth, any gunny bag, a small piece of gunny bag would do. But before choosing the gunny bag cloth, make sure you measure the dimensions of your lid and make an exact square so that it looks even. Don't cover so much so that none of the layers are seen. That becomes it becomes very shady, and I don't appreciate that at all. And you can use any cardboard paper covers, brown paper covers, not cardboard, sorry. You can use any brown paper covers, or you can use any gunny bag sheets to cover your terrarium. And you can use either a cotton thread or a jute thread to nicely fasten it around so that it gives a rusty look. So I'm just going to show how a closed terrarium would look. But once the webinar is over, I'm going to open this up. So just to give you an idea on how wonderful a closed terrarium would look like, I'm just going to, gently fasten it around the. Okay, so this is exactly how a closed terrarium would look like. A closed terrarium would do a good job for say 2 to 3 weeks if left unattended. I have also seen few people leaving their terrariums closed for almost 2 to 3 years, and there is a wonderful establishment that occurs in them. But you should pay attention that you at least let light pass through this. You don't cover it completely, because light is definitely needed for any plant to grow, and so you have to be careful in that. So I'm not going to close this. So I'm just going that was just method to show how to close. So this is our terrarium, and yes, so that's it. If you have any questions, you can ask me.
Yeah, Sachin.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sachin, for your
Thank you, sir.
informative talk as well as a step-by-step live demonstration of how to make a terrarium. Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
the
Thank you very much.
terrariums are not only provide aesthetic value, but also beneficial for environment and the human health too. So
Yes,
in
sir. Very true.
in fact, the wide varieties of terrariums are ranging from minimum rupees 500 up to 50,000 rupees. Okay, if you Google it and if you see any Flipkart or Amazon, it,
Mm.
53,000. Okay, I saw one.
Yes, sir. True,
Yeah,
true.
so maybe it could be some of your part-time job too if you pursue seriously.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now it's a time for a couple of questions. So
So
participants.
one thing I've forgotten is I didn't tell them how often I should water. I'll cover that part, and then maybe we can go for question.
Yes.
So if you're using plants here, if you're using a closed terrarium, you can just close the terrarium and leave it unattended once you've watered it carefully. But if you were to have open terrariums like this, it is advisable that you water it every day. Now, what I mean by watering is just 10 sprays. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 10, and then your job is done. And if you were to think that the moss plant or the plants are drying and then there is yellowing of leaves, it's completely fine. It's okay. You can just remove that part of the leaf which is yellowing and throw it outside. And don't have this notion telling this plant is not growing, I'm going to uproot it. Don't do that. The roots will do their job and they'll slowly grow. Okay. It takes at least 25 years for a human to come into adulthood. So the same also holds good for plants. So give it that time. Don't be very hasty. Just keep it for 3 days, and doesn't grow, don't throw it out, because I've seen a lot of people do it. If patience is a key, before having all of this, you should have patience. Only then, that is the important thing. I forgot to mention in the things you need for terrarium making. So I've had this terrarium for almost a year now, almost 1 year, 4 months. You can see how well it is growing. So given that, it has proper nourishment and care given. It's okay if you're going somewhere out, or if you're going somewhere, if you're going out of station or anything. I'm pretty sure you can give this to somebody whom you trust, because it is very small and compact, and they will do the job. And just instruct them what you're supposed to do, and they will do the job. And it's okay. So you be very you have to give a lot of care to your terrarium. After all, it's life, so you should give them that.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I will move. If there are any questions, I'll take
It's a
them.
time for couple of question. Participants. So 5 questions you will unmute. You can unmute and ask. So then you can go for a chat section. Okay. So please go ahead. You can unmute yourself and ask questions.
Sachin, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Sachin,
Yes, sir.
can we keep 2 questions I have? One is please unmute yourself and please mute yourself. Unmute only when you want to talk. Hello.
Yeah, sir. Go ahead.
Yes,
Sir.
sir.
Can you hear Sachin?
Yes, I can hear you,
Okay,
sir.
because there are multiple noises. Question number 1 is, can we keep earthworms here in this?
Earthworms. Okay. So what happens in earthworms is you can actually, the thing is here, sir, the soil is very compact, unlike your pot mixture where you leave it unattended. Now here you can't leave it unattended, because you have to dampen your terrariums, and this has to happen every day. So earthworms, if they were supposed to flourish in this, I highly doubt, because it's a very small place. And for earthworms to have a good environment, I think this is a very compact place. I have not done it. Maybe you can, I don't know, maybe you can do it.
Okay.
but
The next
I'm-
question is, what is the nice location, good location for keeping this once we prepare it? Good location in
Okay,
your house.
so the good location in anybody's house would be near the window. But care should be taken that you don't open the windows regularly, so that you don't drop your terrarium off. If it were to be summers, it is very ideal to keep it in shady places. But considering the season now that we have hit monsoon, since the whole day is almost shady enough because of the less sun intensity, you can keep it near the window during seasons like this. If it is peak summers and if the climate is very hot, then please keep it in shade.
Does it
Give them.
require direct sunlight, Sachin?
No,
Direct
sir,
sunlight?
I don't think it requires direct sunlight. But so in days like this, you can keep it outside the window, and direct sunlight, as in you should not have that scorching sun rays near that is seen during the afternoons. Maybe the mild sun rays during mornings, say 7 to 8:30, should do the job. You could just keep your terrarium for 1-2 hours if you wish to. If you live in such a part of the country which has very minimal sunlight, then I think you should do that.
Thank you, Sachin. All
But
the best. It was very good, Sachin. Very good it was.
thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes.
My name is Feroz. Where will I get moss?
Okay. Serosh, is it? Okay. Considering that we are in the monsoon, any place that you go, Serosh, parks or anywhere, if you were able to find old laden bricks or concrete blocks, you will have these tiny little thick layer of moss that is growing. You can just scrape it up, put it in your bag, spray it with a little of water, and get it back to your home, and then you can do whatever I have mentioned. You can go for parks, or you can go for this old abandoned houses with cement boundaries. You will have moss growth on them. Or you can go to any botanical parks, or any area which is having a lot of water will definitely have these mosses. So where are you from?
Some from Manya.
Mandya. Okay. I'm pretty sure you'll get it, boy. You just have to go around and see places. I'm pretty sure
Okay,
you'll
sir.
get it.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
Sachin, can I
Ma'am,
ask a question?
Yes, ma'am, you can
Yeah,
answer.
I'm Urmila from Bangalore. Yeah, you said you can use pebbles and do terrarium.
Hmm.
Other than soil, soilless, can you do something with
Soil less.
yeah,
Soil less. No, ma'am. I
only
don't
with
think you
pebbles?
can.
For example, what I do is, I mean, it's not a terrarium, of course, like
Hmm.
aloe vera,
Hmm.
without water, I have grown aloe vera in the beautiful pots. So
Okay.
I mean, without
So
soil, I was with pebbles and all, I was just thinking, can
yes, you
something,
can do it without soil, but you should not be using moss there. You should
Mm.
just be using succulents, as you mentioned, aloe veras, or any species of cactus, or any species of euphorbia succulents. In that case, you don't have to have any layers as such. You should just use similar ratio, that is 1:1:1 of gravel,
Mm.
fine cocoa peat, and
Mm.
charcoal.
Mm,
Okay.
mm, mm.
So if you were just to take 1 cup each of all these three and mix them together, and then you can put them in glass jars like this, and you
Mm.
can make a tiny little depression and place your succulents under them and cover it up with the excess pebble, charcoal, and cocoa peat mixture that I told you. But care should be taken that pebbles should be you shouldn't use pebbles there. You should be using these gravel stones,
Mm,
because
mm.
roots do grow there, and their roots reach to very high depths. So for that beautiful root branching and everything, I think the spaces between these pebbles will give them a very good place to grow. You can grow them, but moss should not be used, and other angiosperms flowering plants that I use should not be used. You should just be using cactus, succulents, and other euphorbia
But
species.
soil
Then
needs
I
to
think
be used, right? That is what you said.
no, soil need not be used. I just told
It's just
pebbles,
pebbles and
this cocoa peat,
ah,
and then charcoal. Cocoa peat is not
oh,
soil. It is just coconut fibers that are hydraulically
got
pressed.
it, got it.
Yeah,
Thank you,
so it's
thank
just
you.
three.
We'll try, we'll
Welcome,
try.
welcome.
And one question for one or two questions.
So, may I?
Question. Yeah, yeah. Go.
Hello, sir. This is Pooja.
Hi.
Sir, is it okay if I use some indoor plants like elephant ears or snake plants, areca, and make my terrarium using some succulents with it and without adding pebbles and all?
You want to make terrariums with areca, the palms, the
Yes.
show palms.
Does it go good if I combine the indoor plants and the succulents?
Mm, succulents and indoor plants. Yes, the snake plant that you mentioned, I
Yes.
think that will do a great job.
Mhm.
So what you have to do there is the snake plant is quite long, right? The leaf blades.
Yes.
So you just chop them into say 10 centimeter bit pieces, and then
Oh,
make sure you know the polarity where the shoot is and where the root is,
yes.
and place them individually in potting mixture, and then spray them with water for 10 days, and then tiny little baby snake plants will grow from the leaf blades,
Yes.
and you can use them, and you can also use succulents, and you can combine both and make a terrarium. That will also do a great job. It is just advisable that you don't thrust the whole snake plant with the long
Yes.
petiole inside it. Just listen to what you have listened to what I said,
Yes, sir.
right? So
Yes.
you micro propagate them, and then you'll have tiny little baby snake plants, and then you can place them inside the terrariums. That would do. Areca palms, I highly doubt, because areca palms are too big for a terrarium. Maybe you can have a glass pot and keep them, but again, I don't think that would work. So I highly doubt the growth of areca in terrarium. As in, I have not experimented it. Maybe you can try. I think it's all trial and error. But you can definitely use the snake plant and the succulents. Areca palm, I highly doubt. Okay. Okay. Sir, any other questions, sir?
No, couple of questions already you answered, Sachin, whatever they're asking here.
Okay,
The
sir.
more question, can you please suggest indoor plant placed in aquarium? And the same, uh,
Aquarium.
how to prevent white bugs in indoor plants?
Indoor plants, white bugs.
Uh,
Okay, so the best thing to do is so this is what I do for my mealybug and white bug infested plants. I just take half a liter Bisleri bottle, and I put 2 spoons of neem oil in it, and then I nicely shake it and spray it on the plants. If you don't have neem oil, it's completely fine. You can use a tablespoon of soap solution, the Prill or the Vim liquid or any other dish washing liquid that you get. You can put a teaspoon. I'm sorry, I said tablespoon. You should put a teaspoon, and then you should put it again in half a liter of bottle, and nicely shake it so that you get that lather, and then you spray it on the outer surface of the plant just at the site of infestation. So what happens is, so there is a tiny little soap solution that is present on the surface of the soil. So once this white bugs or mealy bugs bite on them, the soap enters their gut and it kills them off, so they never come back. So this has worked. Neem oil and water solution, soap solution and soap water solution, these two things are a very good remedy for mealy bugs as well as white flies. It has worked for me, and I think it should work for them also.
Any more questions?
So another chat box, Olivia.
Hello, Sachin. I'm Vanita here.
Hi, ma'am.
What about the mosquitoes that could breed on the surface?
No, ma'am, they will not. They will definitely not. I'm 100% sure, because I have never seen them growing. And moreover, mosquitoes need an aquatic system, right? Here, the watery stuff is just there in the base. I don't think the mosquitoes' proboscis is so huge to pierce through them. I don't think mosquito breeding is a problem at all. I mean, I have not had it, so I'm 100% sure.
And Sachin, does the gravel and sand have to be sterile?
Sir?
Does the gravel and sand have to be sterile? Or
No,
it
sir,
can
not necessary. You just have to wash them and sun dry them. Not even sun dry them, you can dry pat them with a dry towel so that it becomes just dry, and you can use them. You don't have to pressure cook them or autoclave them. They don't have to be sterile.
Sachin,
Yes, sir.
somebody the longevity of terrarium.
Sir, the longevity of your terrarium is directly proportional to the care given to them. As I mentioned before, this terrarium is like 1.5 years now, so it's still doing well. So the more amount of care you give them, I think they will grow. They will grow more than what it is supposed to. But you have to give them good care.
Sachin, I have 3 questions.
Yes.
In closed
Yes.
terrarium, no exchange of
Okay.
gases occurs. First
Okay.
question.
Exchange of.
Second question, same procedure has to be followed to grow algae.
Algae.
Same procedure has to be followed to grow algae.
Okay. Third question.
Azolla plant can be grown by using this procedure.
Okay, Azolla plant. Okay, I'll answer it one by one. So what happens in the closed terrarium is you are not blocking the terrarium. As I mentioned before, you're just using a cardboard paper sheet. And I'm pretty sure this is porous enough for gases to pass. And the second thing that we'll be using is gunny bags. And we all know gunny bags or jute bags definitely have these corrugated structures, the intertwinings, which definitely allow the air gas exchange. So gas exchange does happen in closed terrariums with the help of your cover. That is why I didn't ask you to put a glass lid on top. Instead, I asked you to put either a brown cardboard paper or a corrugated jute sheet. So these pores will ensure that you have good air circulation. And the second thing is your algae question. Now, I didn't get what you meant by growing algae. Now, algae are all grown in water, right? At least in the lab that is concerned. We grow them in a lab. Or if you were to say that you have seen some algae soil particles and you want to place them on top, then I think yes, that will also serve the purpose. I quite didn't understand what you meant by algal growth. So that is it. And the third one was your Azolla question. So yes, Azolla does. You can do a terrarium on Azolla. If you were to see my picture that I showed during the presentation, the lowermost part was the Azolla that I had. So for Azolla, your potting mixture will be 1 soil, 1 manure, and 2 coco peat. So you have to make this soil mixture and you have to place it in any glass jars or any container, and you have to make sure that the water or the dampness of this substratum is always present, and then you can place individual Azolla bits on top of them. Don't overcrowd them, and you have to be very patient because the dorsal side of the Azolla should be facing on the top, because that is the photosynthetic part. You cannot just dust Azolla on top and leave it like that. You should carefully put every dorsal side of the Azolla and place them towards the atmosphere so that photosynthesis and respiration can take place. Azolla does grow in this. I have tried it and it has worked out. I'm sorry about the algae question. I didn't understand that. Maybe you can ask again or clarify the question. Then I will be able to answer. I hope your 2 questions
Question is
out of the 3 are answered.
the habit of the condition, the microclimate is suitable to grow algae and even that other plants, something like that.
Which are the plants?
Like
Sir?
you are going, no, like some 2-3 plants you are growing, bryophytes and
Yes, sir, it grows. It definitely grows. Now, what I decipher from algae is, for algae, they are usually aquatic in their habit, and aquatic is very different from marshy. Now, here we have is a marshy terrestrial ecosystem. Marshy, as in damp terrestrial ecosystem, and it is never aquatic here. But but here again there is algal growth here, so it's like I'm contradicting the statement. This algal growth was something that happened on its own. I did not do anything. So considering that algae is growing in the terrarium, I think the microclimate should very well suit for algae also, but I have not experimented it. But it does grow as in this terrarium, so I think it should suit. Only when it is suiting will it flourish, right, sir? So I think it should flourish, but I have not done it. So yeah.
okay. So if there are no questions, now I request. By the way, thank you so much, Sachin, for your answer for all.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, you answered very nicely and in detail. In fact, in detail. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
sir.
So yeah, a couple of faculties asked about this video link. Yes, soon we'll share that your registered email ID. The video link will be shared. You can go through again this video link about how to make terrarium. Now, so we have come to an end. Now I request Dr. Jacob Paul Vijay, Associate Professor, Department of Botany, to program you, sir. Jacob, sir. Jacob, sir, is there? Hello, sir. Sir.
I'm unable to unmute.
Oh, okay, okay, sir. Okay, sir. Yeah. I'll do that. I'll do that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now you can do, sir.
Yeah. So gratitude is the language of the heart, and I am here to speak that language. I wish to thank God Almighty first for keeping us in good health and enabling us to be participants in this webinar on this wonderful World Environment Day 2021. I wish to thank the resource person, Mr. Sachin Bhaskar, for wonderfully presenting the concept of terrarium. I still remember the days when he was a student in the undergraduate section. After exams, Sachin would come over to ask why he got less marks in some question and why he should be not getting more marks and so on. And we would try to convince him and leave him. So that was the enthusiasm he had in his studies. And I have seen the same when he came over for doing his PG. And if I'm right, he had joined Christ and then he left there and came back here. Is it so, Sachin?
Yes, sir. True.
Yes. Okay. So we are fortunate to have had him for 5 years in our college. And thank you, Sachin, for the wonderful presentation, for the first part of explaining what the concept is and for the demonstration. And I'm sure everybody really loved it. I should thank Reverend Father Swibert De Silva, rector of the college, who's the patron of this program. I wish to thank Reverend Father Victor Lobo, the principal, who has been giving us the encouragement we required for hosting webinars. I wish to thank Dr. Melvin Colasso, the registrar, who accepted our webinar request and gave us the permission to use the licensed Zoom version of the Zoom version. I wish to thank Dr. Beatrice Sequeira, the Dean of School of Life Sciences, who has been a part of our study, Dr. Jairam Reddy, the HOD, and Dr. Rajamani, the PG coordinator, for having given us the required encouragement to host such webinars. I wish to thank all my dear colleagues from the department who have been very supportive. I wish to thank all our participants who have definitely been benefited from this webinar and now have better ideas to do something useful for the environment during this lockdown. So thank you all once again. God bless us all.
Thank you so much, sir. So thank you so much for your active participation too. Yeah, so dear participants, thanks again for your active participation and make this environmental day successful. A couple of announcements. The e-certificates will be issued upon receiving your feedback form. The feedback form link will be shared to your registered email ID soon. Okay, it will come by today evening. So you may get as soon as you submit your feedback form. So you will get your e-certificates. Okay, number one. And number two, the webinar link. Okay, so the recorded link will be shared to your email ID. Maybe you can watch later whenever you want. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, sir. My name is Meghana. I have joined from the link, sir, directly from the Zoom app, but I did not register anything from my email ID. How can I get a feedback, sir?
Yeah, okay.
Link.
So yeah, those who join without registration, so you can send an email to parameshayam@sjc.ac.in. Okay.
Sir, can you repeat once?
Yeah. PARAMESHA. Parameshayam. Okay. Parameshayam at sjc.ac.in.
At
sjc.ac.in.
sjc dot
ac.in.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, yeah. So those who join without registration, so they can send a mail. I'll share the feedback form. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So yeah. Thank you so
Sir.
much. Yeah, yeah. Any questions?
Yes, sir. My power cutter. So I had a question. I didn't ask that question.
We are almost done.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So thank you. Thank you so much. With that, so we conclude the session. So you may leave the meeting. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, sir. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Sir. Thank you. Bye, Tarush. So Arjun is there.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay. Okay, Arjun.
Yes,
We'll
sir.
end the meeting. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
most welcome,
Thank
sir.
you so much.
Pleasure, sir. Thank you, sir.